Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Shokugeki no Soma or Food Wars chapter 241. Alright, let's get into this one. It's the Saito chapter where we get just the incredibleness of Saito on display and a flashback. Now, usually, judging chapters aren't the funnest things to talk about. I mean, there's nothing to talk about when it's like people describing how food tastes. All right, like it's just not fun. But this chapter gave us a flashback, and that flashback is very interesting in the context of just what is Central doing and whether or not it's reasonable that someone like Saito is working with Central. And it's just anytime you get to speak about Central as an ideology, about how effective it is, it's always a fun conversation, because I personally feel that the whole Central thing is in some aspects a bit half-baked, because we understand why it exists. It exists because we need an antagonist. The thing is, like, this is a case where the need for the antagonism, I think, overshadows the logic of the antagonism. And so, when you have a character like Saito, it could be, depending on how you argue it, I think you could start poking a few holes. But then if you start looking a little bit deeper, you can start kind of trying to flesh out what actually Central's doing. And it's just, Central is just such a interesting ideology, but it's really just an excuse to make Azami a much more dangerous villain. Like, we could have left it at Azami just being this terrible person for Arena, but we needed to give him power, because power is what makes for some kind of villain that our heroes can take down. Like, really, if you look at Central and you look at the ideology and you just turn down the more extreme aspects of it, like the whole take down the Polar Star Dorm, I think you could have had a reasonable system. But no, we can't have reason in this. Anyway, enough complaining about it. Let's just talk. So, the very quick thing that I saw in the comments after reading this chapter were that people were saying, well, why is Saito on Central's side if Central's all about taking down the small family-run diners? And that's not what Central's about, right? When you look at Central's ideology, it's not so much as about taking down small diners. It's about bringing the true gourmet to every restaurant. Like, it's about having the set way, the true way of making food. No ifs, ands, or buts. But here's the problem with that. It's that this true gourmet we know is set up by Azami. And the thing is, with food, what is true gourmet if you have a dish that is just the nicest thing to eat? Because food intrinsically has a quality that you can easily tell this is great food, the idea of true gourmet doesn't translate very well, because it would really just be food that is exceptional. That should be what the true gourmet food is, exceptional food. And because of that, Azami tackles taking out creativity. He tackled creativity. He tackled everyone being wild and doing whatever they wanted, because he marked that as being not gourmet, not the true way of making food. Even though it's by the process of experimentation that chefs come up with really good food. Okay, that aside, like my memory of Central's ideology also is a bit flawed. So let's move away from that and just start bringing it back closer to Saito. The thing with Central is, it made this big deal about removing the research societies and making everything a standardized way. Like, the students were pretty much being taught exactly how to make something with no real leeway in what if they wanted to modify things. So Central painted a picture that it was about the lack of freedom in cooking. That's why Soma and the others took up the fight. That's not what Central did. When you look at it, Central actually still has a component of creativity and freedom in its setup. And the thing is, the creativity and the freedom is allotted to the people with power. The Elite 10. The Elite 10 are teaching courses. The Elite 10 are teaching people how to cook according to how they cook. That is already a very big contradiction in what Central's vision is with Azami, because Azami's promoting this true way of gourmet, but he's using chefs who have made their way up. He's using chefs who have clawed their ways up through the ranks and came into their own ways of cooking. He's using chefs who are homegrown. They're not people that follow his way of gourmet cooking. Not really. They are people who showed that this is good food. And this is like another issue with the whole Central thing, is that depending on where you start picking the fight, you'll see that some things just don't work. And when it comes to the Elite 10 that sided with Central, it's very easy to see, especially when you look at Saito, why it works that he's with Central. And it's because Saito himself, through his flashback, was about proving himself. His mom went into a really bad situation. She went into this environment where people looked down on her and had her not pretty much learning how to properly cook sushi. And on a very quick note here, Kara, my friend, mentioned something about the whole sushi thing, and it was actually kind of odd. And this is, I think, a cultural thing. But in Japan, apparently, there was this idea that women are not suited to make sushi because their hands are slightly warmer. If that is true, and the authors played on that and put it into this chapter with the artisans, the sushi artisans, props to them. I think that's a very interesting cultural aspect that exists in Japan, if it's true. Wow. That was just, okay, that's very interesting, and it gives context as to why people were mistreating Saito's mom. Anyway, back to Saito. We see his path of carnage. We quickly see Saito wants his family's restaurant to succeed. But when you look at how he took down his opponents, you can very quickly just see Saito wants to be the best. He wants to stand at the top. He wants to cut down other people. Central will give him the power to do that. And what Central's ultimately done is that it gives power to the people who are already on top. It gives them the power to continue doing whatever they want to do. It gives them the power to already continue just cooking the way they want to cook, because they've established they are gourmet because their food is good. So, you know, the idea that that Saito shouldn't be on Central because he's coming from a home or a family diner environment, that's not what it's about. It's about power. It's ultimately about power when it came to the Elite 10 that signed up, with the possible exception of Rindo. And here's how we can kind of tell. Aizen, power hungry. Absolutely power hungry. Nene, actually this might be another exception. Like, she wants to prove herself. It's kind of harder for Nene. Actually, I should have Nene and Rindo. Anyway, moving on. Saito, we already saw. He's on a path of carnage. He wants to stand at the top. If Central's going to give him the way to do that, if Azami's going to give him more resources, he's going to stick with Azami because Azami's going to, that's part of the deal. Moving on. Momo, we know Momo has horrible personal relations. She looks down on people. Of course, someone that looks down on people is gonna get an absolute joy out of being told that she gets to dictate how people make food. Of course, that little egotistical maniac is gonna be into it. Moving on, Tsukasa. From Kuga's experiences, we have enough reason to think that Tsukasa looks down on people, doesn't regard people as that useful past or before a certain point. You know, like, when you look at the Elite 10, you can make the argument they're all egotistical maniacs, with a possible exception here or there, and see why it is that they went to Central. It's not, with Saito, it's not about him coming from an earnest background. It's about this guy wanting to get to the top. And the Elite 10 are all selfish to some degree, again with the notable exceptions, are selfish to the degree that aligning with Central, a place that gave them the power, it didn't change them. Their ways of cooking were not altered. It gave them the power and gave them more power when it came to, I guess, nurturing other minds. You know, it makes sense that this group of people, given their characteristics, would have fallen under Central. And truthfully, you know, like, with Shokugeki no Soma, the third years are going to be out of here. What are they going to do after they graduate from high school? Are they going to go open restaurants? Or are they going to go struggle with the real world? Is Azami going to make struggles for them less likely? You know, what is Azami going to do for them? Is Azami just waiting for the Elite 10 to leave so he could bring in the true Central? God only knows. Look, Central's being run by an egotistical maniac, and it's supporting other egotistical maniacs. That's what it's all about. It's just people who don't care about the other people who are around them, just want to be at the top, and given a little bit of power or more power, they're gonna take it. that's ultimately what it looks like when you just look at just the base points. And yeah, third years, they're gonna graduate. Then I don't know how they're gonna do the whole replacement thing. They're gonna bring up more people who have shown that they're really good at copying, I guess. And then Azami's gonna have full control, and it's all gonna be just hunky-dory cell times from there. Who knows? Yeah. I hope I remembered everything about Central correctly here. Like, the overall point here is that it makes sense that Saito is in Central. The guy's on a warpath. He wants to prove it himself to the world. Central's gonna give him the power to do that. And yeah, him being from a background of a restaurant doesn't matter because he's already the best. He's already one of the best students at Tosuki. He's proven that he is a true gourmet, that he can make good food. Why pick fights with that, right? Yeah. You know, like, there is that component. Yeah, Central just doesn't really care for the common folk, but like, even that, or like, sometimes it seems like Central doesn't care about the common folk, but even that's foolish. That's just foolish. Like, man, it's so half-baked. Like, you know, you play this big game of like, yeah, Azami's made connections around in America and all that. It's like, guy, like, McDonald's, it's so successful. Fast food is so successful. It's $1 million. Sorry, I feel like it's $1 billion industry. I don't know. I haven't checked. It's just like, oh man. They try to build Azami up as this really big deal, but they leave it in such vague terms that you can't argue against it because you just don't know enough information to like really pick a fight with it. It's just really funny. Anyway, I'm just ranting at the end here. Overall point is that Saito, perfectly, it makes sense that he's with Central. Azami made a system where the strong get stronger and get more perks while the weak have to follow whoever's on the top. Yeah, and it sucks for Saito's mom. Like, that was a legitimately sad story, and it sucks that people in the sushi world were so cruel. I mean, the odds that Saito didn't mean one guy that was decent, wow, I doubt that. I mean, like, there's decent people everywhere. Like, it's just, anyway, whatever, not the point. That's the end of the chapter. There's really not much else to talk about besides that Soma's feeling the heat, but I really doubt Soma's gonna fall here to Saito. And also, isn't Saito supposed to be exhausted? Where is that, guys? But I guess it means Subaru wasn't good enough to really push him. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let's end it there. This was a bigger rant aimed at Central, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a bit more against stuff, but let me know down below what you think. If you think I'm totally wrong, let me know. If you can't tell though, I did enjoy talking about this. Like, ragging on Central is one of my I really enjoy it. I find it really fun because I see it, and I see it as like one of the most flawed things in my, and I was about to say My Hero Academia, in Shokugeki no Soma, just because like it's pretty easy to see. Like, this was an issue where you needed a villain, and it's just, you can't make a villain for a cooking manga. It just doesn't work. You can't make a shonen villain for a cooking manga. It's really hard, and they're trying their best, but man, I just don't. I think you were better. No, I don't know. I don't know. It's funny. It's funny. Anyway, let's just end it there. Central, egotistical maniac paradise.